My next guest is your head trainer at the YMCA in Norfolk, a 3-time state record holder in powerlifting, and he is playing the Incredible Hulk in the next Avengers movie. Sam, thanks for making time to be here today.
Thanks, Zach.
Yeah, no problem. I'm Zach Miller with my co-host Vance Neidig.
How you doing, Sam? Nice to meet you.
And
Nice
we
to
are
meet
touching
you.
base with Sam Moore today. Sam, you grew up in the area, right?
Yes, I did. Grew up right here in Norfolk, Nebraska.
Perfect. Did you go to Norfolk Senior High?
Yep, graduated 2014.
2014, so you're still kind of a youngin'.
Yeah, 27.
Yeah,
Getting up there.
yeah. Were you in any sports at all or anything?
Yeah, I played football for 6 years and did track 8th grade through my junior year.
Nice. Did you, what'd you play in football?
Primarily played fullback and middle linebacker. I also played a little bit of line, offensive and defensive. Played quarterback in junior high.
Did you?
Yeah,
I could have guessed the fullback by the body type, middle linebacker. Yeah.
yeah.
So what was your high school experience like? Did you enjoy that here in Norfolk? Did it,
I mean, I enjoyed playing football. I mean, high school definitely wasn't my best years. I definitely saw a improvement in life after high school. I started getting in better shape, lost a lot of weight, got, really lean. And then I started focusing more on building muscle and just saw a better quality of life really afterwards. But if I was to take away anything from high school, it's probably playing football and, developing a good work ethic from all of that and getting into weightlifting.
good. So were you a little bit bigger in high school then?
Yeah, I would say you would describe me as a little bit softer, but I was still strong. I just wasn't I didn't really have the knowledge when it came to training and nutrition and stuff like that. I was just kind of genetically strong in the weight room and decent at football. I was never a star athlete or anything like that.
So you just kind of winged it a little bit, is what you're saying? Just went off sheer just genetics, basically.
Kind of, yeah. At that point in time, I mean, we had a decent, workout program at my high school, but, to be honest with you, I definitely started seeing better results afterwards for sure when I started doing my own thing.
That's good. So did you attend college?
Yep. I just went to Northeast Community College for 2 years, personal training, exercise science. And, after that, got certified, started working at the Y, worked my way up to become the head trainer.
So kind of walk me through your decision process. Was Northeast your first choice? Did you kind of look at other colleges?
So I was kind of looking at potentially playing football in college. I was kind of looking at Wayne State a little bit. Even potentially at, I even kind of looked at playing rugby for a little bit.
Really?
And yeah. But it ended up just being I guess I was kind of looking at going into being a teacher and / coach because football was my main passion really growing up. And then I just kind of fell out of that and lost a lot of weight, got in really good shape. And then I decided I wanted to be more of a fitness related career path. And I was I want to help other people do this. And that's kind of what sparked me wanting to become a personal trainer. And I saw you could do that at Northeast. So that was my decision.
And they got a pretty good program there for that, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's just a 2-year program to be able to do all that, and then you just got to some certifications you got to pass, I'm assuming.
Right. And honestly, you don't necessarily have to do the schooling for it. You can honestly just do it all online and get certified that way. I just felt like going to school was the right thing for me at the time, and I felt and I don't regret it. I definitely feel like it helped me in the long run. So yeah, and then after that, I went through NCSF to get certified.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. What inspired you to get into the powerlifting?
So, being a former athlete, playing football growing up, and doing track and things like that, lifting weights my whole life. I kind of got into. I wanted originally to do bodybuilding when I first lost a lot of weight. I got really shredded. Had aspirations of actually doing a bodybuilding show. And then, I kind of started putting on muscle, focusing more on strength. And then I knew I still wanted to do something competitively as an athlete. And so I was like, why not try powerlifting? Why not work towards something and just try it out? So I did my first competition, my first sanction. Well, we'll start with my first local competition was at the Max Gym here in Norfolk. I think 2018. So I was 21 years old. And, I was just like, why not try it out? did okay. I didn't put up even, near close to the numbers I put up now. And then it was like years later, I was like, okay, I want to do like an actual like sanctioned powerlifting competition. So I signed up for one through USAPL in Lincoln and did that one, did okay. I think I got like third place in my weight class. And I don't know. I heard about the two different federations. It was USAPL and USPA. And I tried USAPL just because it was closer. And the just the overall atmosphere and the venue. It was in like a high school gymnasium. They don't use like some of the equipment they use is like not as good. Like they don't use an actual deadlift bar for the deadlift. They use a strict bar for all three lifts. And there's just things about it that weren't as fun. It was still fun for my first competition. But then I did one later that year in Des Moines, Iowa at an actual like badass powerlifting bodybuilding gym. And they use a deadlift bar for the deadlift. The platform was outside. The crowd was huge. And I'm like, okay, this is my federation. This is the one I want to do moving forward. And I just kind of fell in love with the sport. I love lifting weights and I love competing. And I was like, then this is a sport that I'm actually like pretty good at. After I did my competition in Kansas last year, I qualified for nationals. And I'm like, I'm way better at this than I ever was, at football, track, any other sport. So I just like, it goes well with my career path. So that's kind of why that's how it started. And then that's why I've kind of continued to do it, is because I'm not great at it, but I'm pretty good at it. And, I can keep doing it my whole life if I choose.
Well, if you're qualifying for nationals in any type of competition you're ever in, you're better than 80% of the people out there. So
for sure,
you're definitely succeeding if you're getting nationals in anything.
Yeah, for sure.
For the listeners, can you maybe explain the difference between bodybuilding competitions and powerlifting, just for the ones that don't really know?
Yeah. So bodybuilding is going to be more so like how you look. You have to diet down, get really shredded, and look a certain way on stage. And powerlifting, you just have to be really strong. You have to be able to lift a lot of weight for one rep on three main lifts: squat, bench, deadlift. And so I guess what kind of deterred me from bodybuilding is anytime I want to compete in a sport, I want it to be fun. Bodybuilding at the end of the day, like going up on stage, posing, in your underwear or whatever, doesn't sound super fun to me. Like it just doesn't. And then also starving yourself to get really ripped. Like
I was gonna say, I've talked to, I've known some people that have done it, and it just seems like they go through their bulking phase and then they go through their lean phase. It's like, that just to me doesn't really look healthy. It's like not. Watching the progression of it.
It's not.
And it doesn't look fun. I love food. I really do. So if I were to have enough determination to do the lifting and do enough exercise, I'd rather do the bodybuilding the powerlifting because you have to be healthy, but you can still gain the mass. You just don't have to be super unhealthily lean. It looks like sometimes.
That's exactly it. And like, that's kind of what like deterred me away from it, is like, I've been super lean before and it's cool and stuff like that. But like, to me, it's overrated. I'd rather be strong. I'd rather, and stay relatively lean. Obviously, I don't, sometimes like the stereotype with powerlifting is they're all fat, which, you can stay relatively lean and still be strong and powerlift. You don't have to, you're not going to be shredded out of your mind unless you're, have super good genetics or you're on a lot of gear. But that's kind of what, kind of made me choose powerlifting over bodybuilding. That's not to say I might do a bodybuilding show in the future if I decide I want to. But that's kind of the big difference there.
There's levels of that bodybuilding too, right? Like certain classes where you don't have to be super lean.
Right. There's your men's physique, which is like your smaller guys who are more ripped and big. And then you have like your middleweight, and then your open dudes, your open class, which is like the really big guys. And then even with powerlifting, there are weight classes. So you do kind of have to watch that. But for me, I typically compete in the 242 weight class. and I can maintain like a 235 to 240 weight pretty easily without trying that hard. And most people look at me and they think I'm not that heavy anyway, because it's mostly muscle, and they're thinking like, you look like you're 220 or less, and I'm actually 235, 240.
Yeah, you and I are two different 240s.
I actually would have thought you were closer to my weight, but
I'm probably like
super
250. I'm probably like 250.
I'm pushing that 265, 270.
I was for a while until I went and saw him.
Real healthy.
Yeah.
Did you have any influences for the powerlifting? Like, was there anybody you were like looking up to, or?
Not necessarily. I mean, yeah, like I have my influences, not necessarily specifically for powerlifting, but like there are like certain fitness people I follow on like social media. Like probably one of my biggest ones, and he kind of gets a lot of hate in the industry, Mike O'Hearn, just because I really like his training style. He combines the powerlifting and the bodybuilding styles of training into, it's called power building, and that's really how I train too. Is I combine the really heavy strength stuff with the more hypertrophy, high rep stuff.
Is he that guy you just shared not that long ago on your Facebook?
Nope, that was Sam Sulik.
Oh, okay.
He's the 21-year-old. He's strictly more of just like bodybuilding.
He's the one I've seen on TikTok. Look at this guy.
He's huge. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like weighs as much as me, but he's like probably single digit body fat percentage.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I like him too, but he's not really in the powerlifting. He's more just straight bodybuilding.
Right.
And then I look up to like other like pro athletes that I grew up watching. Like I'm a big Packers fan, so like Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, and all those like
my guy.
Amon Green, I mean, was a he's a legend for Nebraska and for Green Bay. So, and then just other like pro athletes that I grew up watching for other teams and other sports and stuff like that.
That's great. You just got back from, it was the Worlds competition, right?
Yep, World Championships.
Can you explain a little bit about that competition and kind of how you did?
Yeah, for sure. So going way back to this past summer, I was actually training for the national competition which was supposed to be down in New Orleans last July. It came to a point where a good buddy of mine, he wasn't going to be able to make the trip. And so we kind of had to cancel just because I had no other way of making it down there. And I wasn't going to do another competition the rest of this year. And then, I don't know, it was like one day I got an email and it said, oh, you qualified and got invited to compete at the World Championships in Eugene, Oregon, and it's in November. And I'm like, well, I wasn't going to do another one this year, but you know what? I can't pass that up. So, I kind of thought about it a little bit. I gave it like a week and I'm like, you know what? I got to do it. And so I started training for it. And yeah, it was just this past a few weekends ago. So it was in Eugene, Oregon, and kind of how I did, I'll just kind of go through it. Each lift. So squat, I finished at 606 pounds.
Nuts.
Which was Nebraska state record in my weight class. Bench press, I hit 347. My main goal was to hit 350 or more, and I know I could have, but on my final attempt, I went for 370, which is a state record. And so I got it up like halfway, couldn't quite get it, but it's still a PR, 347. And then the deadlift is where I really finished strong and what ended up getting me my final place. And I pulled 705 on deadlift, and that was also a state record, and got me second place in my weight class, second in the world in my weight class, and 3 state records because it's squat, deadlift, and then my overall total are now all for all 3 are all state records.
When you say it's a one lift or one rep,
sure,
do you get multiple reps at that, like 3 tries, 4 tries,
Right.
5 tries?
So obviously they have an area like in the back where you can warm up. I've
But
actually,
you don't warm up at your max, I'm assuming, do you?
No. So, I've had people ask that, like, do you just go up to the platform and just go for it? And like,
just
just
show up,
cold,
just
like,
do one lift and be done.
like, No, like we get to warm up. Obviously, I'm not going to load 600 pounds on the bar and try to lift that without warming up first.
Right.
You'll tear something doing that or break something.
Exactly. So no, I warm up using like percentages of my prior max, working up to my opener. So I opened squat up at 573 was my opener, and that was my old competition max. So I opened at my old competition max, hit that, got it easy, 3 white lights. Went for 606 on my second attempt.
Hold on, what's 3 white lights?
So in powerlifting, that's kind of how they determine if you have a good lift or not. You have 3 lights. So if you have at least 2 white lights, it's a good lift.
And you can go higher.
Well, it just means it's a good lift, and you can go higher regardless. You can get 3 reds or have a bad lift and still go higher on your next attempt. But as long as you have 2 whites, it's a good lift. And the judges kind of determine that. They look at things like your depth, just squat. It's primarily your depth and things like that. And, so then on my second attempt, I went up to 606, not really sure what happened. I think I just lost control of my breathing. Someone told me I might've gotten bumped a little bit, which, it is what it is. Things happen. And then I just like, I probably could have got 610 or maybe a little bit more, which I would have liked to get, but I'm like, I want to finish this meet with an over 600 pound squat. So I stayed at 606 and I got it. And I'm looking at the video. I'm like, dang, I got that pretty easy on my last attempt. I probably could have gone a little heavier, but
yeah.
So you get 3 attempts.
You get 3 attempts on each lift. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So just so I understand, obviously by the names, I'm assuming Worlds is like a higher competition than Nationals.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Just want to make sure.
Yep. There's ways to actually qualify. So like for Nationals, I qualified for that at a competition I did in Omaha last March. I got a master total. Well, no. I qualified for Nationals last year in a meet I did down in Manhattan, Kansas. I got a class 1 total. That's what you need to qualify for Nationals. And then in Omaha last March, I got a master total, which is what you need to qualify for Worlds.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
And so that's what I got. I got personally invited to compete at that
That's
one.
great.
Yeah.
So you hold on. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So you have to. Do you get sponsors, or did you have to pay your way there? Is there an entry fee?
There is an entry fee. I did pay my way. I don't have any sponsors. That being said, I haven't really tried, but that's definitely a goal of mine. Kind of how far I've taken it. I kind of want to see how far I can take it to the point where, maybe this is something I can, do professionally at some point.
Is that kind of a normal? Is that standard operating that usually everybody gets sponsored to go, or
Not
small sponsorships maybe, or
not necessarily? Most people just have to pay the entry fee, and then to travel, if you are sponsored by like a supplement company or some sort of fitness brand, they might help pay for your traveling, or they at the very least give you free supplements or something like that. But for the most part, it's when it comes to sponsorships, you kind of have to reach out on your own, and I haven't really made that effort yet, but it's something I intend to do, just to try to take it to that next level.
So with this being Worlds, and you're talking about being a professional at it, isn't this kind of you doing it professionally, to an extent?
It's getting close. The guy that got first place, he is a pro. Like he's like, so that.
But you got second.
I got second. Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying
this. So I had like my overall total was like 1650, close to 1659.
I can look it up if you want.
Yeah. So, and the guy that got first place, he has like a 2,000 pound total.
Oh,
so
that's a gap yet.
So this guy squatted probably, he squats well over 700, benches like 500, but his deadlift really wasn't much higher than mine. So that's pretty cool to say that.
Yeah,
at least
that is cool.
At least I'm close to him on deadlift, but
500-pound bench press.
Yeah,
at 240. You said
240. Yeah, 235, 240.
Oh.
Yeah. Now this guy's also, he did the national competition down in New Orleans last summer. He won the whole thing, and he's from Louisiana. And he
all weight classes. You're saying?
Yeah, the whole thing. Like out of everyone competing, they do like an overall score. It's called DOTS.
Basically percentage of your weight, and it's a weighted max.
It's based on how much weight you lifted, your personal body weight, and then I think also gender plays into it, because there's some women that have some really high scores, because you get this little 130-pound woman that can lift all this weight. She's going to have a really high score,
right?
You
did 1658 is what you have on your Facebook.
Okay. Yep. So that's what I thought it was. So, but yeah, so this guy, his name's Demirius, and he's just, he's kind of what I, aspire to kind of get to be like. He owns his own gym down in Louisiana. So if I'm going to take second to anyone, it's going to be a guy like that, because the rest of the guys in my weight class, there was, I think, 8 total in my division, my weight class, and also my like division, which is the open raw division. There's different divisions for like what equipment you use and what age you are. And these guys all were kind of right around me, but I was able to edge out the rest of them to get that spot. But yeah, this guy's a freak. I don't, there might be some special supplementation going on there too, because it was an untested event, which
that's crazy to me. A world's event being untested.
Well, they have your drug tested ones and they have your untested ones.
Okay.
And I don't mind going up against guys that are juicing. Like, put me up against the best.
Right.
Like,
so that's a good thought to have.
Do you get tested? Or do you test?
So we don't get if it's an untested meet, no one gets tested.
But obviously we're saying you do both, right? So you do both tested and untested meets?
Normally I just do untested, just because I don't I don't necessarily take, I'm not juicing or anything.
We're not, that's not what we're trying to do.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, there's certain supplements out there you just never know. Like, I do take a lot of supplements, and you never know what they
can like hide
may
something.
or may not test for. So I just I don't mind competing untested and going up against guys that are juicing.
So that guy was probably juicing that had 2,000 pounds on him.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's he's huge, he's jacked, super cool dude.
Yeah.
We follow each other on Instagram now, and he's someone that I feel like I could learn a lot from in the sport, for sure, and just the industry as a whole.
So it's kind of crazy though. I mean, you got 3 state records.
Yep.
And I didn't really, I would have never known unless I knew you.
Right.
It's just kind of crazy. They didn't get a whole lot of coverage, really.
It's pretty cool that you're from here and that's the case. I
For sure.
I never knew. I don't know you, and I've never come across that.
Well, it's crazy, like, kind of the build up for it, because at work they did a whole thing for me, and then I know they did a whole thing in the paper. I was on the front page and stuff like that.
That's great.
And
sorry, I don't read the paper.
No, I don't either. But they did the guy came and did an interview and stuff like that, and there was so much buildup. It was like,
so they interviewed you before you went.
Yep, and then I guess they did like
follow up.
Yeah, well, one of my clients that I train works for them. And so she knew the results and stuff, and put it in like a follow up thing.
Good.
So
that's really cool.
Yeah, so everyone can see how I did and stuff like that. So
it's just crazy, out of the whole state that we got you here in Norfolk that's breaking records and stuff. It's really cool to me. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
So going back to the competition, how disciplined do you have to be to prepare for something like that?
There's definitely a decent level of discipline that goes into it. Obviously, once I get to I'm going to say about a month out, I cut off any sort of like drinking, alcohol, things like that. Now, I could probably, in that time frame, I could probably go out, have a few Coors Lights and be totally fine and have it not affect me at all. But then it's like, why?
It's not worth it at that point.
Exactly. It's not worth it. It's like, it would not affect me probably at all, but it's like, it's not in my best interest. And then, what if I did go out there and lay an egg and underperform? Well, you were drinking beer 2 weeks out. Like, what did you expect? Like,
can you explain how that would affect you if you were, let's say you were to keep drinking every day or whatever?
So, I mean, the biggest thing with that is alcohol can inhibit muscle recovery and muscle growth. And that's the biggest thing when you're getting that close to a competition. Recovery is the biggest thing. Like, at that point, like, I'm not really training super heavy anymore. I'm focusing more on recovery, staying fresh, mobility, flexibility, just, maintaining fluency in my lifts that, just so I'm fresh for the meet. And, alcohol isn't really gonna, it's just not in my best interest at that point.
Right.
So you're training. So say you're preparing for a meet. What is your typical training regimen? How much time do you like to allow yourself to get ready for a meet?
Sure. So, so this last competition, I actually did a 12-week prep. Most like regular competitions, I'll give myself a 10-week prep. But I'm like, okay, this is Worlds. I'll probably, I should probably do it a little bit longer. Plus, I have to count, for the week I travel. I'm not really going to be able to train that week. I'm going to be flying and stuff like that. So it was really more of like an 11-week prep. And then kind of how I do train is I actually don't, even when I'm in powerlifting prep, I don't necessarily train exactly like a powerlifter would, because I have other, I want to also have a decent looking, muscular physique and not take on the stereotypical powerlifter look that most people associate with the sport.
Like the world strongmen guys.
Right.
Like just behemoth men.
Big dudes, big gut, big everything, but they're super strong.
Yeah.
I want to maintain some form of aesthetics and, conditioning, things like that. So I always incorporate some form of the bodybuilding style. We go back to bodybuilding. I always start with like my big, heavy compound movements, obviously squat, bench, or deadlift, whatever day it falls on. And then based on that movement, the movement pattern, and then the muscle groups that go with it, with squat, it'll be primarily lower body, leg stuff. With bench, it's going to be primarily upper body push, shoulders, triceps, chest. And then with deadlift, it's going to be a lot more pulling back, biceps, rear delts, traps, things like that. And then in between, I'll do like just more straight hypertrophy focused days where I'm doing solely just accessories on those specific lifts. So what I mean by accessories is supporting lifts that'll help me get better at the big three. So like with squat, exercises like leg presses, lunges, leg extensions, things like that. With bench, you have your incline presses, your shoulder press, your tricep work. And then with deadlifts, you have your rows, lat pull downs, pull ups, bicep curls. Doing a lot of bicep curls isn't necessarily gonna, help me get a higher deadlift, but it helps a little bit with the grip strength, and who doesn't want big biceps?
And right, look good, feel good.
Exactly. Yeah. So
that's great.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about supplementation. What I'm gonna call it a cocktail. So what do you kind of take? What are your main go-tos in supplements?
Sure. I always like to use a pretty good pre-workout. I don't really have a necessary go-to. I will say probably the most effective pre-workout I've ever taken is called Ape Shit.
I've heard of that one. Yeah.
And it's just the combination of like focus and taste and just intensity and energy and pumps it gives me.
Is there any pre-workouts that you would stay away from?
Anything that is loaded, I might get some backlash for this.
That's okay.
Anything that's loaded with a lot of creatine, honestly. I know creatine is a well-researched supplement. There's a lot of research backing it. It's time tested. People see great results with it. And the key is to drink a lot of water when you're taking creatine, and I get that. But for whatever reason, anytime I've ever supplemented with creatine, it just makes me bloated. It makes my face look puffy, and I don't like it. Like,
so,
and even
go ahead.
It's just, and I understand, that's the premise behind it is to drink a lot of water. And I'm drinking a gallon and a half, 2 gallons a day. And it still does that to me. And I don't like it. So I just don't supplement with it. I'd rather, I feel like also my body, it's something your body naturally produces. And I feel like my body naturally produces enough of it. I eat enough protein and from red meats, ground beef, steak, things like that. And then also carbs are also going to give you that similar effect of like muscular fullness, strength, power, energy, things like that.
So
Gotcha.
I don't know if you wouldn't know this by looking at me, but at one point I was a manager at GNC. So
Okay.
and
Yeah.
I was kind of the same way. I didn't like the creatine side of it.
Yeah.
To me, when I would take it, which I was never really that into it, but I'd take.
Sure.
I was big on pre-workouts. I was never really big on proteins because my body was just built enough that I didn't need the proteins. I had enough steak and all that other stuff.
Sure.
But I'd stick to pre-workouts to either go work out or I'd do them to go play basketball and stuff.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the shit out of pre-workouts and fat burners and that type of stuff. But the creatine, it seemed just like you retained a lot of water even when you drank a lot of water.
Yeah.
It's like kind of a fake look to me. It wasn't like, that's kind of what I always got from the creatine side of it.
It was like, for me, it was like all it ever really did for me was bloat up my midsection, make my face look puffy. And I didn't really see a whole lot of strength gain from it. Like I just assume I eat more carbs, and carbs doesn't really do that for me. So, but yeah, the fat burners, I've never, I kind of tested with them in the past. I also I was an assistant manager at Complete Nutrition.
There you go.
And so I kind of experimented with some of that stuff too. The fat burners always made me feel sick.
Certain ones did for me. I had to stay away from certain ones.
Sure.
But I've always kind of been a bigger, like fatness for me was kind of I was just pudgy, I guess, or a higher fat value. But like I was just built thick.
That's kind of, just your natural build.
Yeah.
Sure.
So pre-workout, what else we got?
So pre-workout, and with that, a pre-workout that has a good pump matrix. So like something, and I'll even take like an actual like pump product and mix it with my pre-workout.
So is that still like the nitrous oxide type thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Opens up your blood vessels, has makes more blood go to the muscle, carries more blood, oxygen, and nutrients to the muscle. I try to use a good protein powder just because for me, kind of at the point I'm at, I have to eat so much food, so many calories a day.
Your jaw starts to hurt a little bit.
Well, yeah, to hit that protein goal for the day, like I have to supplement with some sort of protein shake. And lately I actually got it from Hy-Vee. It's the Quest protein powder. The cookies and cream flavor.
That's the Advocare one, right? Quest is Advocare or not?
No, Quest is its own thing.
Is it its own thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because like Quest bars, I don't know if you've heard. Yeah.
Yep.
So they make a powder, and it's the I like the cookies and cream flavor. I mix it with milk, let it sit in the fridge for like an hour or two. It tastes like an Oreo McFlurry. So
I'm sure
it's pretty good.
That was Optimum Nutrition had a cookies and cream one back when I worked at GNC, and oh my god, that one was that was the only one that I could take because it tasted good.
It's like an Oreo McFlurry. It's the best.
That's great.
I take like my multivitamin, my fish oils, and then when it comes to like anabolics and stuff like that, I know we already kind of touched base on this. I already said like I don't inject anything into my body. I don't take any sort of like, actual steroids, but I do take similar supplements that it's the same concept, but it's not even close to
like a test boost.
Like pro hormones is kind of what I take. So I do take that, and I'll admit it. I fully admit it to anyone I talk to, clients of mine, friends,
right?
They all know. And so that's probably also part of the reason, I compete untested, and, and I fully admit
just in case.
Yeah. You never know like what they might test for, but
right.
And in those things, those are all proprietary blends. You don't even know what's in them anyway.
They don't even,
Right. Yeah. So but it's, I'm smart with it. I cycle on, I cycle off, and do the right thing. I'm not stupid about it. And, I've never had any negative side effects from it. Some people, experience the gyno and the things like that, but I never, that's never something I've experienced. And so I just kind of cycle on and off and do it the safe way. Outside of those things though, I've experimented with some other stuff. I've experimented with like carb powders. I feel like that's not really necessary for me though with my body type either.
It was like the fast acting carbs.
Right. Yeah. We had one I used to sell at Complete. It was called Fortify, and you could mix it with like, it was flavorless. You could mix it with like your protein, your pre-workouts, whatever.
Anything.
Yeah, and just kind of add more carbs to it and get more fullness and better pumps, in the gym. But yeah, that's really it.
Do you ever do do you do a lot of amino type acids for the recovery or not?
I do drink aminos once in a while.
We're good. Yeah, like BCAAs or like.
So yeah, BCAAs or even like amino energy, something with like a small energy blend.
Yep.
Sometimes I drink so much water. Sometimes I get tired of drinking water. I want something with some flavor that doesn't have a lot of sugar. So sometimes I'll turn to aminos, and that's just that they say that it helps with muscle recovery, and it probably does to a point, but not as much as you might think. And really, I just drink them because they taste good. There's not a lot of sugar.
So, and maybe that's true. It just seems like, obviously, I don't spend a lot of time working out, but I have gone to where I get cramps really bad sometimes.
Sure.
And that's kind of the only thing I've ever had help me is amino acids. That's the only thing that's ever really helped kind of cure that for me.
Some people, they really do see the results with them. I just, maybe they do. Maybe they are helping me with recovery. To me, it's, when it comes to recovery, it's eating enough and then also sleeping, getting enough sleep.
Sleep's huge, right?
I definitely don't get that.
Drinking enough water too. So
water. Yeah.
Yep.
So kind of walk us through your diet. I would like to hear how your diet is when you're getting in those 11 weeks, getting prepared for competitions, and then your diet throughout the rest of the year.
So when I'm getting ready for a powerlifting competition, for me, I never cut weight for a powerlifting meet. Some people do. I choose not to just because it's harder to hit your strength peaks when you're in a calorie deficit, obviously. Right. So, for me, it's just a lot of food. I'd like to sit here and tell you I'm eating chicken, broccoli, and rice for every single meal when I'm prepping for a meet, but that's just not the case. It is, you do have to eat some of those higher calorie foods just to hit your calorie goal for the day to keep your strength up, so, but typically for breakfast, I like to eat, eggs and eggs, usually like breakfast burritos. I'll make breakfast burritos a lot.
How many eggs are you using?
Usually 3 or 4 in one.
I was expecting like 10.
If I'm just eating like just straight eggs, I'll make like maybe 6.
I'll do that, and I'm not powerlifting.
So. Yeah. So, and then just throughout the day, I do. I eat a lot of like ground beef, lean ground beef, like 93.7 with rice, veggies. It's definitely mostly your healthy stuff, but then, I'm not shying away from some of those higher calorie foods, like, sorry.
You're good. Probably like breads and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. Breads, and even like, burgers, pizza, things like that, just to get the calories in.
If you need to take a minute if you want to catch yourself, we can take a pause.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we can take a pause
for a little.
All right, we're back. We had a little coughing fit. We had to get some cough drops and get those in. So we were talking about you don't stay away from some higher calorie.
Some of the higher calorie foods. Just, if it has like a little bit higher fat content or even higher carb, it's just the energy. For my workouts, and then just the overall calories. It just makes it easier to hit that calorie goal at the end of the day, to be able to maintain strength and to maintain my weight even, and to maintain muscle.
So do you avoid anything? Like, do you avoid sugars or?
It's not. I do avoid simple sugars. I don't necessarily avoid them, but I don't. Obviously, I try to stay away from them as much as possible. But like, in this sense, it's almost more of like the bulking context, so to speak. And so, like, I'm not going to beat myself up over it, if I have a
Can you
cookie
explain
or whatever.
Simple sugars?
So simple sugars are going to be like your sweets, like cookies, brownies, cake, candy, things like that.
That we usually call like empty calories.
Empty calories, yeah. But that's going to be like simple sugars, saturated fats, things like that. So saturated fats can be more like potato chips, your really like fatty foods, cheese, things like that.
So like what's some good like healthy snacks you kind of go for?
My favorite protein bar, it's called the Outright bar. It's it's not super loaded with protein. It's probably like 16 grams per bar. But it tastes really good. It tastes like a candy bar.
So it kind of takes your sweet tooth.
Right, yeah. It kind of curbs your sweet tooth, but you're also getting, a decent amount of protein from it. I love fruit. I love snacking on fruit, and people are like, "Oh, fruit's got sugar in it," but
It's different.
no one. Well, yeah, and it's I ate 2 apples today, and well, that's a lot of sugar. Okay, dude, like no one got fat from eating too many apples.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, like it's hard to overeat on fruits because they're so they're so low calorie dense and they're so nutrient dense that you're gonna fill up before you even get close to going over on your calorie limit. You know, so.
Is there any other foods that maybe didn't mention that you kind of enjoy or stick to when you're
A lot of rice. I eat a lot of rice when it comes
brown
to
rice?
White rice.
White rice, okay.
Yep, I actually eat white rice. That's kind of my go-to carb. I do enjoy eating oatmeal. I haven't been eating it as much lately, for no particular reason. But and then I don't know, when it comes to proteins, I really stick to like your basics, like your eggs, beef, chicken. Those are pretty much the main ones right there.
Nice. Seeing your own body transformation, did that give you any inspiration for becoming a trainer?
Yes, very much so. So after high school, like I said, I was kind of pudgy in high school, lost a lot of weight, got really lean. And that's what originally inspired me to wanting to become a personal trainer.
So going after Northeast, what made you decide to stick around the area and be the head trainer at the Y? Because you probably maybe had other opportunities you probably could have.
So for me, it was just firstly just finding a job as a personal trainer. We were kind of talking earlier, I worked at Complete Nutrition, selling supplements. So going way back during college, I worked at Target.
Okay.
Just a job to get me through college, whatever. While I was still at Target, and after I graduated from college, I got offered a job at Complete Nutrition. I told the guy, well, I'm working towards getting certified. I'd like to get a job more related to my field. Not really, but it was I thought it was at the time.
Yeah. It's kind of getting closer,
It's getting closer, but I kind of tell you at the end, it was kind of sad there, but
yeah.
That's kind of how it.
They're not around anymore, right?
They're not.
No.
And GNC is closed too, right?
It is here, yeah.
Here in
I
town.
think, there's still GNCs.
We don't have a GNC. We don't have a Complete Nutrition anymore.
GNC closed down.
I believe they're not in the mall anymore.
Yeah, last time I walked by, they weren't there.
So all we have is Rexius.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all we have for us. Okay. Mm-hmm. But you can get a lot of them. I mean, I'm not talking bad on Rexius.
No.
I'm just saying you can get a lot of your supplements
You can get them online
and get them delivered in a couple days.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get
what's
it.
that? There's some
That's what a lot
website
of
that
people
sells
do.
a lot of stuff really cheap. Like you can get stuff
Bodybuilding.com.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I've noticed that. Like I've bought Reigns or Bangs or whatever.
Bang
on
energy
there.
drinks.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, that's kind of how it started. Is I started working at Complete Nutrition, selling supplements. But I really wanted to eventually work as a personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
At the time wellness director, head trainer at the Y reached out to me about it. Ended up getting the job. All I needed to do was get certified. Went to Sioux City that weekend.
So you got the job before you were even certified?
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
No,
that's
you're
really
fine.
cool.
Yeah.
And they headhunted you basically.
Yeah.
Because they came to you.
Yeah.
You didn't go to them.
They reached out to me.
That's
Yep.
great.
Because they knew me from Complete Nutrition.
Right.
That's how they knew.
And you were probably in there all the time.
Yeah. That's where I worked out at like my whole life. So, so then I got my certification test scheduled that Saturday morning, like 7 a.m. in Sioux City at I think Western Iowa Tech is where I took it.
Yeah.
And I was super nervous. Like it's a boards exam. Like you got proctors that are watching your every move. I think the minimum passing score was a 70. I think I passed like a 74. And it's like,
Hey, you passed.
I didn't
That's all that
care.
matters.
I passed. That was my only thing that I was like worried about was passing. So, and then the next day I had to get certified in CPR. And so I got that done too. And then started out very part-time, like just training clients and working at the Complete Nutrition. And And then a lot of crap happened at Complete Nutrition. Eventually, kind of got laid off there just because, corporate was in, I guess, a bunch of debt, and they were closing stores like it was their job. And then I was forced to really start to like amp up my workload at the Y, which is really what I wanted anyway. I wanted to eventually leave Complete Nutrition and work more full-time at the Y. And it wasn't exactly how I would have liked to have it planned, but it worked out in the end. And so I guess that's why, I stuck around, because they did eventually offer me the full-time position. If that would not have happened, I probably would have moved elsewhere to like at least Lincoln or Omaha. There's a lot of opportunity for that out there.
Right.
But it worked out for me in the end there. And, I'm not saying it's my final destination, but for right now, it's a good way to set my foundation.
You're in a good spot. You got like you walk right in the field house door, and you got an office right there.
Yep.
You're right
by the weight
You're
room.
literally like what, 15 feet from your
My
from your
sanctuary.
world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
When they did that expansion, that really probably put you in a better spot, right?
It really did. And they always told me they had a goal of making me full-time eventually. I was like the best part-time trainer they had. And then they really wanted to make me full-time. They just had, they had to get their ducks in a row first, and it all worked out.
Well, and that's good for you. I mean, a door opened, you went through it, and you went all in.
It was a great opportunity. So it's still, we're still got some big plans for the future there, and we're still working towards all that kind of stuff. And I'd love to start doing powerlifting meets there at some point. It's a work in progress yet, but
where would you guys do that at? In the gym or on the field house?
Right. So that's part of what we would be figuring out. I would love to have the platform itself in the field house.
That'd be pretty cool.
I just think that would be a super cool place to have it. And then we have a separate room. It's kind of like a private training room where we kind of recently put a squat rack in there, like a half rack. We want to put another one in there, and kind of how I vision it, that could be kind of like our warm up area. Right. If we do powerlifting meets in the future, that'd be a great warm up space. And then having the actual platform in the field house, I just think would be like a super cool place to have it.
Yep. That's awesome. It's cool. You guys have some plans for the future on that. And so is the Y working with you on that? Or are they open to the idea?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We've had discussions about it, many discussions about it. And we're actually doing we're kind of doing like these strategic planning meetings and stuff about what we want to do in the future in our certain departments. And that's one of the things in my departments I really want to keep working towards for sure.
So when you took over and even before you got the full-time job, did you kind of like take the bull by the horns? Did you like start creating your own regimens and stuff like that and programs?
Yep.
Fitness challenges, that type of stuff?
So yeah, I've always, even before I got certified, I had friends, family reach out to me, and I would be making them workout programs just to gain experience and stuff like that. And so, yeah, even before I got, full time, I'm still, creating programs and helping out in other areas. We have a really cool program there called Rock Steady Boxing, and it's a boxing class for people with Parkinson's disease.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And so that's one thing that I never would have, envisioned myself doing originally, but it's really cool. And that's something I kind of started out as like a co-instructor, and now I'm the head coach of the class.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there any other classes that you guys do there, or that you run, that are maybe forced along the same lines, where it's like a special group?
There's one called Foundations of Movement, which is kind of that same population, not necessarily Parkinson's specific. It's kind of more just your senior population.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily teach that all the time. I've substituted it before. I don't do a whole lot of group fitness stuff. But it's that those basic movements that they need to keep doing just to maintain, functionality of life.
So you work with a lot of different age groups. Which aspect of your job is like more satisfying to you? Is it helping the youngsters get their gold cards, or helping some of the older generation maybe extend their lifespan? That's a tough one.
Yeah, that's a great question.
You can say both. You can say both.
You know, honestly, both. I love working with kids. I love working with the elderly as well, and athletes too. But yeah, honestly, both. I mean, really, any client I have, they're going to get my best. They're going to get my all. And, you know, that's really, you know, I mean, Zach, you've trained with me before, and, you know, you see how hard I go for all my clients and stuff. So, it really doesn't matter what age group you are, what, you know, fitness level you're at, you're going to get my absolute best. And, you know, I'm going to put my all into it.
Well, you're very knowledgeable too. And you're very patient.
Oh yeah.
You don't, yes, you push your client, but you also know, you know, not to, you know, overextend them and get them hurt. You know, you're very conscious of where to start. You know, I kind of, when I came to see you, I was like, I want to hit it really hard and go after it. And you're like, no, we need to kind of slow down so you don't go tear a hamstring or something.
That's exactly right.
I've always looked at it. I like to see when I'm in a gym or whatever. I obviously don't spend a lot of time in there, but I like to see if somebody is somebody you would imagine on a Rascal scooter inside of a Walmart or something using the little courtesy cart. I love seeing those type of people putting the effort into work. I've always noticed that usually it's almost like it's a self-esteem issue. They may be afraid to ask for help. And I've always liked seeing when somebody helps them, because I think that just keeps them coming back, keeps them like trying to better your life. Like it's not going to kill you to do this. It's really good for you. And so I've always commended people that help people like that. And I also commend the people that are trying to make a change for their life and working at it, whether it's a physical or a biological issue that they just have to fight it. It is what it is. And it brings a tear to your eye sometimes when you see stuff like that. And I enjoy that. That's one of my favorite aspects to see in a gym, is somebody trying to transform themselves that way. That's
what it's supposed to be all about. It's a brother and sisterhood. We're all there to help each other. We're all there to improve our quality of life, you know, and you know, I can't stand these videos on social media of people making fun of, you know, someone who might be new or might not know what they're doing. Like,
I see those a lot.
It drives me crazy.
I don't know if you see those Joey Swole videos. He calls them out, and it's like, and he spits the truth. You know, it's either A, go help them out, or B, mind your own business.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
it's one or the other. But don't post a video of them for views just for your own personal benefit.
Everybody's got to start
people
somewhere.
To laugh at. Like,
everybody's got to start somewhere.
Everyone's got to start somewhere.
Especially when those people, I mean, it took a lot for somebody like me, as somebody like, I don't have a lot of shyness, but some people have a huge fear of other people, and they just, it's a hard thing to walk in there. Like even I sometimes, I come through little anxieties, like, man, I don't want to go in the gym and just look. I don't want to look dumb. I don't want to look like
in with my hat on, my hood on, and just go do my thing and get the F out.
Zach just gets in there and he gets to work, and he's a beast, man. But I mean, a lot of people get that first impression of me, like before they actually get to know me and hear me talk and stuff. They see this guy who's like, you know, pretty well built and, you know, probably, you know,
he's a muscle douche.
Right. Yeah. Like he's one of those guys. He's one of those assholes, you know, and then they get to know me, and, you know, I'm actually a pretty nice guy.
You're nothing but the nicest dude, man. If I'm being honest.
Yeah.
You were great to me, and I see you. I don't, you know, you were very busy, so I can't always come see you. But when I am there and I see you working with people, you're just so, the patience that you have.
Yep. And
that's
part of it. You to be a good personal trainer, you have to be patient. Like, I have a client, he trains with me five days a week, and he trains with me at 8 a.m. His name is Scott, and he's 70 years old, and he's just a plump old man, and he's hilarious. And, you know, he's been working with me since 2019, and he probably hasn't made as much progress as he probably should have made in that time. But the way I see it is, if he wasn't working with me regularly, he'd probably be over 400 pounds, terrible quality of life. And, you know, just the fact, like, you got to look at it from that perspective sometimes. Like, he's not going to follow a diet plan. He's 70-year-old man. I've tried it. He's going to eat whatever the hell he wants.
Well, and obviously you made an impact on him if he's been coming to you since 2019.
Exactly, yeah.
And coming every day.
A lot of it's just the conversations you have with people, you know, like,
you're not just sitting there telling them what to do. To some people,
you're a therapist. Like, you're a sounding board. You know, you just listen, and
you're like the bartender of the fitness universe.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, that's honestly,
I like that.
that's part of it. Like, and he's worked with trainers in the past, and they just gave up on him. And
that's sad.
I'm the only one that's actually stuck with him. And
well, I commend you for that. That's
so
great.
Yeah.
So for our listeners out there that, and this is going to tie in right to what we were talking about. So for our listeners out there that may be scared to even start their fitness journey or are afraid to come work out at the Y or a gym or any gym, walk them through just taking that first step.
That's what it is. You take that first step, you show up, you walk through those doors. You can either choose to, maybe meet with a trainer right off the bat, or if you don't think that's for you, just getting on one piece of equipment. Maybe get on the treadmill, do a little bit of walking, get on, a machine and do a few reps and just kind of take that first step. And then, from there, maybe you're like, okay, maybe I do need some help, and you reach out to a trainer. And I hope that experience with that trainer is a positive experience, because there are bad trainers out there. There are trainers that kind of half-ass it. Now,
not at the Y in Norfolk.
Not at the Y in Norfolk.
Right.
Because
you guys have a pretty good staff there.
Well,
from what I've seen,
if there was any trainers that were half-assing it, then I would know about it, and they wouldn't be there much longer.
Right.
So, no, I make sure all my staff there are actually, taking the proper steps necessary. But it's just approaching it with a positive mindset, and knowing that there's gonna be bumps in the road. It's not gonna be perfect. You're gonna screw up at times. You can't go, you kind of talked about it before, like going all in, balls to the wall right away. I want to go super hard on my workouts. I want to do a perfect diet, this, and that. You're going to slip up at times. You're not going to train like Arnold Schwarzenegger right off the bat. Like, you're going to start small. You're not going to go all in on a perfect diet right away. Okay. You need
it's almost
flexibility.
like not possible. Like, it's
not, you need balance. And you need to understand.
Perfect word. It's the word of the show, dude. Balance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Zach loves balance.
I love balance.
Yes. We all need more balance in our lives for sure. But that's exactly what it is. It's maintaining a positive mindset, willing to put in the work, knowing it's not going to happen overnight. And whatever your goals are, whether you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to build muscle or you're trying to compete, whatever it is, it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot. Results happen from consistent hard work over a long period of time. That's when you see results, no matter what your goals are in life. Not even just in fitness or in the gym.
There's no instant results.
No.
Even on this podcast, Vance and I both know.
Yeah.
We're not going to have instant success. It's not going to happen.
No.
So how do you? Did you have another?
I was just going to say that for all the listeners out there, going back to what I was saying, is that even if you're starting your journey, you don't have to see a trainer all the time. But if you feel that you need that extra little push, go see him once or twice, get a feel for the gym, right? They can do that, right? They can just come see a couple times.
Yeah.
You'll show them around the gym, show them how to do the lifts.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel like you want the trainer or want somebody around you, you want to do it on your own at your own pace, you can do that. Mm-hmm. And they'll still help you. You guys always have at least 2-3 people there.
Yeah.
At all times, right? Or not not at all times, during the day anyway.
During the day, yeah. There's usually at least a few trainers on staff.
And you guys are all super approachable. I've seen people come up to you. I forget what her name is. She was there today.
Molly.
Molly.
The one that was with me behind the desk.
When I walked in.
Yeah, that's Molly.
I've seen you and Molly get approached while you're training somebody else.
She's actually a former client of mine as well.
Is she?
Yep.
She's cool too. I've talked to her a couple times, but I've seen people come up to you guys while you're even training somebody else, and you guys answer their questions.
Yep.
Like it's a really good atmosphere, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
And
you go ahead.
Well, just on that point, it's like, obviously when I'm training a client, obviously I'm working, and some people would see, I was like, well, you're training your client. Why are you answering questions to this other person? It's like, well, yeah, you're right. But, I'm here to help everyone too. And most times the client, like, they've been in that shoe and they're totally cool with it. So just to kind of expand on that part of it. Yeah.
How do you deal with, and this is just for like personal question, basically, it seems like every time I get into I want to go start working out, I clearly go too hard the first time, every time. Like it doesn't matter what it is. And I may not start that way, but like I'm just competitive, and it's kind of been my mindset. Like I'm anxious. I don't have patience, I guess.
Yep.
Not that I'm going to get the results, but like once you get that feel, and I've always grown up on a farm, so like labor is not hard to me.
Sure.
But once you get warmed up, it's like, oh, I want to keep going. And then I push it too hard, and then you're miserable, and you're like, oh, I can't do this again. My whole body, everything hurts. I can't move. I can't walk. Can't do anything. So how do you start somebody like that?
So if someone's like that, where they go super hard right off the bat, there's a few discussions you want to have. You want to talk about recovery. Okay. There's not necessarily, starting right off the bat going that hard can be a little bit of a problem, but it can be less of a problem if you're recovering properly, getting enough protein in, getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, supplementing with the right supplements. But also, maybe not have, limiting the amount of days they're training. If you want to train that hard, maybe we're not training 5 days a week, 6 days a week. Maybe we're training, to start out 2-3 times a week, and then really emphasizing recovery. And then, and maybe you still want to stay active those days you're not lifting. You just go in and do some cardio, maybe a little bit of core work or just flexibility, mobility work.
I'm just talking really the very first episode. So have you ever had to tell somebody it's your first time in here?
Sure.
Let's slow down just a little bit.
I can't say I've actually had to tell anyone that, because most time it's their first day in there.
You told me that on the rower. You're like, you should probably slow down.
I did tell you that. You came in with that mentality. So Zach's probably the only one. Most other people, they're intimidated to go that hard right away. You know what I mean? It's their first time.
That was our warm up.
Yeah.
He's like, you should probably slow down. Yeah. We're like, we're just getting started.
Yeah, we were doing like 5 minutes on the rower. He's just cranking it out. Like we're 1 minute in and he's like drenched in sweat already.
That's kind of the way I've been. Like, I go play say I won't play basketball for 6-7 months. Haven't really done anything other than just normal labor jobs, whatever.
Yeah.
Once you start getting that cardio, that first game or two, you're like, oh my God, I'm dead.
Yep.
But then all of a sudden you get warmed up and you're like, oh yeah, I'll play for 3 or 4 hours. And then you're just dead.
I get that.
I mean, that's kind of where I've always been on that side of it.
Yeah.
Trying to limit myself that very first, like if it's been a long time since I've done physical activity, you got to
understand that
very
actually,
first one.
Even for myself, like just recently having gotten done with that competition, I took a week off from lifting just to like let my body recover. And then I came back into it with a different goal in mind, like a different, I'm doing a different split. I'm changing up my training a little bit because I have different goals I'm working towards right now. And so I went from doing like really heavy weight for like super low reps to train for worlds to now I want to focus more on hypertrophy, which is more higher reps, focusing on building more quality muscle. And that first day back, man, I did legs and I'm doing high rep squats, and my quads, like my quads were super sore, like midway through the workout, and they were probably sore all week, but now I'm week 2 back into it, and my body's already adapted to it,
which you're in shape, so it's easier for somebody like
but that
you to
initial
recover.
shock, you're right, like my whole body was sore that first full week, man. It's a real thing.
So we've talked about this a little bit already, but I really want to emphasize to the people, because I want this kind of to be like, obviously what you're involved in is health and fitness and things.
Yep.
So can you explain to people like how important your diet is to your overall health?
Yes, for sure. So whatever your goals are in fitness, like if you're trying to build muscle, lose weight, whatever, nutrition and diet is really going to be like that number one thing, especially when it comes to fat loss. Like, people think when it comes to losing weight, you need to do just a crap ton of cardio and work out really hard and starve yourself, which is not the case, especially if you're just starting out, like, and you're really overweight and you're already not eating enough because you think you have to lose weight. You actually have to reverse diet and actually increase your calories to support the workouts you're going to start doing and get your body ready to go into a deficit. You know what I mean?
Right.
A calorie deficit, meaning you're burning more than you're consuming. Because if you don't have the muscle to support that, you're just going to crash and burn, and then you're setting yourself up for failure. But it's really important to fuel your body with the right foods, and really hit your protein goal, especially if you're trying to lose weight. So if I have a client that is, super obese and they need to lose a lot of weight and they haven't really done, a regimented lifting program or workout program ever, or in a very long time, I'm not gonna set them up on a deficit in calories right away. I'm actually going to increase their calories, to hit what their maintenance level would be with their workouts. Till we get to a point, their body's gonna recomp like crazy because they're doing these workouts. They're going to be getting the quote unquote newbie gains, right? They're going to just be starting. They're going to be getting all this progress, losing all this weight, gaining all this muscle, getting stronger. And we track this, we have ways of tracking this progress with, an in-body machine or doing measurements.
It's a cool machine, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Full body composition analysis. And we'll do this until it kind of stalls out. Right. And then when it kind of stalls out, that's when okay, they've kind of gotten to that point where they've built enough muscle. They've gotten used to this workout program. Their body's probably ready to cut back now. We're ready to go into that deficit and start reducing calories so then we can really attack the fat loss. But at first, it's really going to be more recomposition and almost resetting and supercharging their metabolism.
So basically building fat underneath, or building muscle underneath fat. And then
let's build fat under the fat.
Building muscle under the fat.
No, kind of, but more so building muscle and recomping, because they're going to lose a little bit of fat during that, but it's going to be more about building muscle. Yep. And then once they hit kind of that plateau of the muscle build, then their body's ready to go into a deficit because they've been eating this amount of calories for a while. They've been building muscle. Now they have the body, they have the lean tissue to support a calorie deficit. Because if I just throw them into a deficit right away, right off the bat, and put them on all these super tough workouts.
Isn't that kind of dangerous too, though?
Yeah, that's very dangerous because they're going to be on extremely low calories, not enough to support the energy for their workouts. They're just going to crash and burn.
Right.
They're going to be super tired. They're going to be starving, and I'd be setting them up for failure. So
and that's kind of what I was getting at. You don't visually, you're building the muscle, you're feeling it, and it's just not visually cut. You're not just jacked.
That's
basically.
Right. You're not going to see it. You can see it in your lifts.
Yeah.
And that's something that, as a trainer, you have to make sure to explain that to these weight loss clients right away, because they're like, oh, I want to lose this much weight for this event coming up. And it's like, well, let's pump the brakes real quick. There's a process to this.
We're not in Hollywood. You're not going to go.
That's right.
Cutting and gaining weight in 2 months. It's a long journey. I'm trying to think about when I came to you. It would have been last year sometime.
Yeah.
And I've slowly done well. I'm not in any kind of, I'm not in your shape type of thing.
You've made noticeable progress.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Still not where I want to be, obviously, but I'm also, I've had to cut down on the amount of time I'm there. So right now I focus on a lot of cardio because it's something I can do in 40 minutes and get out of there. I try to lift when I can, but the cardio has been good. Obviously I got faster results while I was doing lifting and cardio. Fast, really fast.
And another thing,
I plateaued.
Another thing people need to realize is, you'll burn more calories doing cardio in a single session, but it's still important for these weight loss clients to lift weights because you're going to burn more calories over time because you're building muscle. The more lean contractile tissue you have, the more calories you burn at rest.
Right.
So really, they complement each other. You don't just do cardio to lose weight, but you don't just lift to build muscle, because you still want to do cardio if you're quote unquote bulking, because you burn more calories. You're going to be able to eat more food. You're going to be able to lift harder and longer because you have that better conditioning. You're not going to be gassed so badly after one set.
I'm going to tell you the reason I work out like I do still to this day is so I can eat when I want to a little bit. Yeah.
It's a benefit. Yeah. You know, like I said, the more muscle you have, the more you can eat, you know, without gaining weight.
Which everybody's got to have their own goal going into it. Whereas your goal is, I want to be a power lifter.
Yep.
His goal is, I want to keep being unhealthy.
No, I want to be.
Not- you know what I mean?
My thing is, I want to be healthy. I want to be around long enough to be with my wife and my kids. But I'm not in anywhere in my mind do I want to be where you're at, which is fine.
Yeah.
You know, it's just one of those things.
Balance.
Everybody's journey. Yeah. Balance.
That's what it is. So that's what it comes back to. Because I mean, you're totally
Everything
right.
comes back to balance.
And when you talk about the weight loss people, like when you say we got to lift, we're not trying, or you're not trying to make them power lift. You're not trying to make them do that. It's just like you just have to lift a little bit of weight. You
Unless that's, you know, unless they decide like, oh, that looks pretty cool, you know. But
I mean, you'll take them under their wing, won't you?
Well,
Like, let's bring another one.
I do coach powerlifters too. So
There you go.
But yeah, no, it's mostly like with those clients, it's mostly gonna be like machine based lifting. Not, you know, I'm not gonna be most of them, I'm not going to be putting in a squat rack and having them squatting with a barbell. You know, they're going to be on the leg press more likely, especially if they're first starting out. Like, they're not going to have that functional balance. We go back to balance, but this is from a physical standpoint. To actually do like barbell squats, you know.
So along with that, can you, and we've talked about it a little bit already, but can you give some like little small steps somebody can take to have like change their healthy eating habits? Like let's say they eat out 5 days a week and don't really have, you know, the core values in their diet. Can you give somebody like one little step they could take, 2 little steps, just to even change it just a little bit to get in the right direction?
Sure. So yeah, if someone's, you know, eating out 5 days a week, the worst thing you could do is just completely cut it out cold turkey, right? They're gonna suffer withdrawal.
It's addictive.
Fast food is an addiction, right? So you can't just tell them to like, you can't eat fast food anymore. Cut down from like 5 days a week to maybe, this sounds bad, but maybe 3 days a week, you know?
Doesn't sound bad.
Right.
You gotta take baby steps.
You start somewhere, right? And then, you know, just slowly making those improvements, making healthier choices, like healthier snack choices. You know, maybe instead of that cookie, you know, have an apple, you know, or like have something of higher nutritional value. And like you can still have, you know, a cookie later or whatever, but like, you know, say you're eating cookies for snacks like twice a day. Well, swap out one of those snacks with something that's healthier. You know, it's making small changes, you know, and obviously that's kind of what we alluded to earlier anyway. But making the small changes gradually over time and making more small changes gradually over time to the point where becomes a lifestyle.
It's like you're
picking up healthy habits along the way.
Like your 10 soda a day person throwing an amino acid drink,
right?
Instead of a soda,
or instead of, you know, sitting and watching TV for 2 hours, go do some physical activity for an hour, and then, you know, have that balance where you can, you know, watch your TV for a little bit or play video games or whatever, but you know, have part of that time, you know, something physical. You know, go walk the dog, go for a jog, go get a quick workout in, whatever that might be.
Or a lot of it's like tricking your mind too, like where you talk about your fruit. You can supplement your sweet, sugary fruits with your sweets to try to start satisfying that sweet tooth to help wean you off.
That's true, yeah. Like fruits or even like protein bars, you know, protein snacks. Like my outright bar I talked about earlier, like that is something that you can use to kind of curb the sweet tooth, right? Like if I want a Snickers, I go get an outright bar instead. I'm gonna benefit more from that because there's protein. It's it's not as loaded with like those simple sugars and stuff like that.
And I don't want to call people lazy either, but if people would just go and get a huge bag of rice, you know, get your vegetables, prep. I'm assuming you probably have a day of prep cooking.
Yeah.
So prep your meals. It's not as hard as it sounds. Try it once.
No. It's time consuming,
and it'll end up being cheaper than eating out all the time.
It's way cheaper. My biggest problem,
even with inflation right now, it's still cheaper. Trust me.
My biggest hatred of meal prepping, and I tried it. I did it for a few months. It's the same meal. Like it's a mental block that I couldn't get over. I hated it. I despised the same thing over and over.
Yep.
But there's ways to do it. So, and you talk about being cheaper. Me and my brother live together, obviously, and you can eat really, really well for a fairly cheap price. We go down to Burrish Meats down in Columbus, and we buy bulk like chuck rolls. Up front. I mean, we'll spend
up front's crazy. But
we'll spend $100 on a chuck roll or $60 on a chuck roll, but that's 20 pounds of beef,
right?
Exactly.
Like, in the long run, buying like we buy actually this year we bought a whole cow.
Yeah,
like.
A lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah, buying a whole cow, going to a local farmer and getting, or even Cooper Farms here in town and get some chickens, or whole chickens. Don't go buy the breast. Get a whole chicken and do it yourself. It's gonna be. I think I saw the other day at the store there was a pack of 4 chicken breasts was like almost $16. Like
you can get 10 pounds of that for $15 or $20 down at Burrish Meats of chicken breast.
Right.
You can get a 40-pound case of chicken legs, which me and my brother buy that all the time for $20.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, come on. Like it.
You're slipping. You can not buying from local farmers, like local places.
Yeah. It's crazy. Don't go to your meat counter and buy your ribeye for $15 a pound or your New York strip for $13 a pound.
We don't buy meat at the grocery store. Let's put it that way.
It's expensive.
We like you can lunch meat. We do, but
every once in a while they'll have deals, but you just got to be mindful and pay attention to it
and just plan right. Right. Planning things out.
And either way, it's still going to be cheaper than, fast food every day or whatever,
Especially nowadays. I remember I was watching something the other day. You used to be able to get this has been a long time ago, obviously, like back in like the 70s, you could get a Big Mac meal for like $1.79. And now it's like $13.
Well, we grew up partying with dollar McDoubles.
Yeah, dollar McDoubles.
Now they're $4.
Right. So I guess that's not even that long ago.
That's right there. That's 400% in 10 years.
That's not even worth it for how small they are.
Yeah.
Not when you can go to the store and make however many patties off, whatever. And, but when you're buying it local, like we're going to really push that on the podcast, is getting local meats because it's way cheaper. Yeah. And you can really, you can buy bulk rice. God, and we go to when I go to Costco, we get like the bag of rice.
Yep.
We usually get the 5-pound one from Walmart between me and my brother.
I think this is about as big as you can get
Walmart, there. Hy-Vee usually, but I think it's like 5 pounds.
So do you buy in bulk like that too when you're prepping?
I don't.
You should.
I know I should. I know I should. But I'm usually going to usually when I grocery shop, I go to Hy-Vee or Walmart typically.
They got the 5-pounders there.
I get the really big, I guess the box.
Oh yeah.
Of rice. So that I guess I do buy in bulk. Yeah.
You do that's the minute rice or whatever.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I have a rice cooker at home. That's what I use. Yeah.
A rice cooker. We get the bagged rice and we do a rice cooker. It can do shit. That thing's. I mean, it's a good sized rice cooker.
Yeah. It don't take long. I still enjoy making rice on the stovetop.
Rice is really. Oh, really?
I do.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of time to do that. I like the rice cooker because I can set it. I can go do something else, come back and deal with it.
I'm kind of a cook though, so I just like to be perfect.
I love cooking too. I just don't want to cook rice.
Yeah,
that's the one thing.
That's kind of like I'm kind of with you. Is like I put the rice in the rice cooker and I can cook my other stuff while it's just cooking in the rice cooker.
Right.
I cook my beef or my chicken and my veggies, stuff like that.
We kind of went off on a tangent there. Sorry, we're talking about inflation. And,
no, it's all good. It relates.
Well, I just want to tell people it's not that difficult to just make your own food at home. No. And I make it a precedent. Like Kai, and she won't be mad that I say this. She just can't. She can cook, but doesn't enjoy it. I can go look at our fridge and look at our pantry, and I can throw a meal together without a recipe with no problem.
I'm not great. I'm not great at that. I love to cook. I love to cook meats. Basically, that's my anything with a meat.
Sure,
I will cook the shit.
You just love your meat.
I love meat. Everybody loves meat.
Oh yeah,
but carnivore. No, if you could put me, You put me on a Blackstone, you put me on a grill, you put me on the stovetop, even in the oven with meats. I'm really good with that, but and certain sides, but a lot of sides, I just don't have the patience to do it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I don't like to do. Baking, I don't like baking.
Maybe that's going to be your word of the year for 2024. It's patience.
Patience. I definitely don't have
There
patience.
we go.
I know we probably need that on this podcast, a little patience.
A little bit, yeah. So, can you tell us some exercises that may work for someone who may not be able to make it to the gym, or maybe they are one of those that are afraid to start the journey? Can you give some is there any body weight exercises that I know we can't show anybody, but can you
I mean, just like a basic at home body weight workout. I mean, you could do a full body workout just with body weight exercises. I go through the muscle groups right now. If you start with chest, you could do push-ups. Go to your core. You can do crunches, Russian twists. Go to my lower body.
What's a Russian twist?
So seated on the ground and your body, you're twisting your body back and forth, working the obliques.
So you're in a sit-up position, if you were going to do sit-ups, but you're turning.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yep. You go to lower body if you want to target, quads. You could do body weight squats. That's very easy. You could do a body weight Romanian deadlift to work on your hamstrings. You don't necessarily need weight. Hinge forward at the hips enough to where you feel a good deep stretch in your hammies. Pull it back up, squeeze the glutes at the top. Walking lunges for your glutes. We all want to have a nice butt, right? Calves, body weight calf raises are easy enough, right? Let's think arms here. So you could do tricep dips on off your couch cushions, off a chair at home. Biceps can be a little different, but I mean, you could use household materials, can of soup or whatever, and do bicep curls.
You do them 12 ounces at a time.
12 ounce
There you
curls,
go. Yeah, exactly. That's part of it right there.
And a lot of the stuff you see on the internet is always saying do 100 of whatever. You can start
right.
low.
No, yeah, you don't need to do those crazy. I mean, you could do 3 sets of 10. Start at that. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can start basic and keep it simple and just start like that, and gradually you'll learn more as you go. Really, that's the biggest thing with the gym is and working out is you see all these influencers on Instagram and these gurus, and they're trying to reinvent the wheel and make it turn it into rocket science. This isn't rocket science.
It's because they're trying to get clicks. That's all they're trying to do.
This is strength training and conditioning, and that's why dumbasses like me can do it. But it's not rocket science. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can keep it simple, and as long as you follow it and work hard at it, you will see results.
That's really the key. Is just consistency.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's exactly it. And experiencing stuff and knowing what works well for you and your body.
Right.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that the endorphins you get from working out, no matter what you're doing, just even walking, it's miserable. It's whatever. I would rather, I'm the type of guy that if I'm going to run, I can't do it on a treadmill because I'm just standing right there.
You just look at the numbers.
I just can't do that.
I agree.
I'd rather go run around the block, run around the country section, something like that. Yeah. But once you're done, it's miserable doing it, but you're done. And you do feel,
great.
You feel a high. You feel, this feels actually really good.
Mm-hmm. I'm not a huge runner, but for a while I was. When I was first losing a lot of weight after high school, I did a lot of running. And, I'd run. I was living out with my parents at the time. They live out in the country, and I'd run this 4-mile section, and every day I would do that. Maybe sometimes twice a day. And later on, when I was, last time I did a really hardcore cut. I did a lot of running, and I'd run around Skyview. So.
Yeah, we have a lot of great places in Norfolk to just go outside and run.
Yeah,
it's not always nice outside all the time around here, but there are places you can go do that, and it's getting even better. I enjoy just even sometimes we'll go walk just downtown.
Yeah,
just go down and walk back up, and
sure.
Anywhere in town is really good to do that with. Is there anything else that we maybe didn't cover on health and fitness that you maybe wanted to as you were coming into this interview?
Right. I mean, to be quite honest with you, this is stuff I could talk about for hours and hours.
We can always have you back on because we can always have certain.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't want to. I'm not trying to cut you off either. You can talk as long as you want to.
No, you're fine. I mean, it's like I said, I could, I could bring up all sorts of different subtopics, but anyone could ask me any questions about anything related to health, fitness, powerlifting, bodybuilding, even, in some aspects, sports related stuff. And I could talk for hours and hours and hours. And I mean, in terms of anything we actually didn't cover that I really wanted to talk about.
And I'll give you a second to think too. So what we're probably going to do, we're going to do this with the doctor that we had on too, is that we're going to have you on the initial episode. And then if people want, we'll put some posts out on Facebook and stuff. And we'll be like, hey, we're going to have this person on again.
Sure.
And they'll pose questions. Then we can have a whole other podcast just of you Q&A and some questions and stuff.
Maybe we'll do something fun with weight loss, something or other.
That could be fun too, where we can do like a little competition or whatever.
Yeah.
So is it, after thinking, is there anything else that you maybe wanted to get out to the listeners that we maybe didn't cover in what
I guess
we were talking
just in general, no matter what your goals are, if you're a newbie in the gym or if you're a seasoned vet, whatever your goals are, the key thing to take away from this is consistent hard work over a long period of time. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to, make it super complicated. Just work hard over a long period of time and you will be rewarded.
And they can find you Monday through Friday at the Y?
Yep. I'm there on the weekends too, working out too. So
you live there.
Pretty much.
You're on the clock Monday through Friday, basically.
Yeah,
if somebody wants to come in and have a conversation with you, like 8 to 5.
Usually get there around 7-ish, maybe a little bit earlier, and I'm there till like 5 or a little later most days. Yep.
Perfect. So we're gonna kind of change trajectories here a little bit.
Yep.
And I kind of warned you about this.
Yeah, you did. I know.
With an election year coming up, how do you feel about where the state of the country is right now? And do you feel that we are being well represented at the federal and state levels?
And like we talked about earlier, I'm not a huge politics guy. I think, if I'm being quite honest, I think when it comes to like politicals and government talk and things like that, I think it's just a big shit show for the most part. I don't really have necessarily a favorite or anything like that. Whether we're being represented well or not, I mean, it's hard to tell, honestly.
It's a very tough question, especially if you're not, fully into it. And you're not that much younger than me. I think I got 8 years on you, I think is what we discussed. 2014, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's about 8 years.
I got 10.
Yeah, you got 10. So do you, with some of the younger generation, I talked to somebody young, I talked to Chase Carter.
Yep.
He really felt like his vote doesn't really count when it comes, especially like federal level. Do you feel that way? Have you voted in every election since you've been 18 or since you've been able to vote?
Yeah. Yep.
That's
and
good.
I vote, because it is my right, and I totally believe in that. It's our right to vote, and if you don't vote and you complain about the result, well, then you can't complain because you didn't even vote. But
right.
I'm not really one to complain either way, but I still do it because it is my right.
That's human nature,
right?
To complain.
Yeah,
it is.
Whether I feel like it counts or not, at the federal level, I mean, it really depends how much of a deficit it is between one candidate and the next, really, and who you voted for.
Right. It makes sense. Do you feel that you're being well represented in Norfolk? Do you feel like the things that are changing in Norfolk downtown, obviously the Y got that big expansion. Mm-hmm. I know that there were some monies that were involved with that. Do you feel like Norfolk's moving in the right direction?
I do feel like Norfolk is moving in the right direction because they're obviously trying to improve upon, certain things, especially in the downtown area. And obviously, where I work at the Y, we're always looking at, we're so like focused on the future, obviously focusing on the present, but always planning for the future and, being proactive about that for sure.
Where do you see yourself going in the future? Are you enjoying where you are right now? Do you see yourself staying in Nebraska? Do you see yourself staying in Norfolk? Are you happy with where you're at?
I am happy with where I'm at, and I do enjoy what I'm doing at the Y, and I do really enjoy working there. It's a very nice facility. We have very great equipment. I have some awesome coworkers. That being said, I mean, I do have bigger goals down the road. I will say this right now, I'm in no rush to move off of the Y. I feel like it's a great foundational place for me to continuing to gain experience. But I would definitely love to eventually kind of start up my own fitness related, coaching related business, whether that's in Nebraska. Obviously, I just got back from Oregon and it was beautiful. I really enjoyed my time there, and I really miss it. And I honestly, I could say I probably could live there just because of the weather and just the fresh air. Everything's green, but yeah, I mean, in terms of where, what my goals are, I would definitely see myself eventually branching off from the Y and doing my own thing for sure. But
I could see that for sure.
No matter where it was.
No matter where it was, whether it's in Nebraska or what, I would love to go back to Oregon someday. But maybe it's a powerlifting coaching thing, or maybe it's just fitness in general, of no matter what their goals are, whether it's their weight loss, muscle gain, powerlifting, just kind of being a jack of all trades in the fitness industry. But like I said, as of right now, I'm happy with where I'm at, but I'm always working towards improving and, always got my eyes on the future.
So go ahead.
So if going on to your future goals, I know you've touched on you think the professional powerlifting thing would be really cool. Obviously the training, the coaching, that type of stuff. If you were to say, and this is just completely hypothetical, right, I'm not holding you to it, which one would you rather do? Which one is more fantasy wise that you would just love to be? Would you rather love to be just the top dog professional powerlifter, or a top dog trainer, coach, own your own place type of thing?
I think everyone's, especially as as a little boy, it's always your dream to be a professional athlete, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So I think doing the profession, if I can, eventually get to a point where I'm making money competing in powerlifting competitions, that would be awesome. Like that would be probably the one that's like way up here. But I think the more realistic one, long term anyway, would be the business coaching thing we talked about. But I think short term, while I'm still kind of in my prime, if I can get to that professional level where I'm making money from sponsorships or competing, that's, that they both could be very, very, realistic goals.
You've clearly got a good head on your shoulders. So the good, smart move would be to keep doing what you're doing. You seem like a really good coach, seem like you're a really good trainer.
Yep.
You can still do that professional thing and still keep that going with you. And then you always have that, because everybody knows Father Time's undefeated,
right?
No matter what happens.
You're totally right.
So you always have that skill coming with you, and you're right there with it, and you don't have to step off.
You've almost got a little bit of imposter syndrome. Like, you're a very humble dude.
Yeah.
Like, you get 3 state records. You're like, you get second at Worlds, and you're talking about you want to, you're obviously you have aspirations of coaching, but that's like what you always move to. You don't. It's just crazy.
Those that can't do, coach, just gonna say, and you can do. So.
Yeah. So like, I would definitely, like what he said, is definitely try to stick with it, because you're obviously good at it.
Yeah.
So that's just, I don't know. We get imposter syndrome with this too, like doing the podcast.
I get that. I get that all the time. Like, I mean, people like, I don't know. Yeah. It's just being humble, staying humble. And, I know what I've accomplished, but, I'm not going to walk around and act like I'm on top of the world, better than you, because I'm stronger than you and I can lift more than you and I have more muscle than you.
Yeah. No, you don't have to do that.
No,
Nobody expects that.
No. And I know that, but it's just, you have people that are like that. And And
but you are on a podcast talking about you. You can't.
You invited me, Zach.
You know, but you can boast yourself a little bit.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
This is the old switcheroo. Now we're gonna say no. He's completely conceited.
Yeah. Well, no. What an asshole.
We're kidding.
You're a great dude. And the other, I did come up with one other question, and this is going to be a little off topic from what we were just talking about. But
Sure.
with some of the other, just so we got the Planet Fitness downtown.
Sure.
Obviously, Anytime's still here. Did you guys see any drop off in memberships with Planet Fitness coming?
We did a little bit. I'm going to be interviewing someone who recently worked at Planet Fitness. Doesn't have a lot of good things to say.
Oof.
I'm gonna leave it at that.
You don't have to.
And well, here's a joke I kind of had when Planet Fitness first opened up. Is it was around the time Little Caesars was closing down, and Planet Fitness, they're all known for free pizza day. So I'm like, well, Little Caesars closing down, we need a new pizza
Hold
place.
up.
That's why.
Hold up.
I know. I did
not know this.
Did you know about that?
Planet
but
Fitness has
I
a free
didn't know
pizza day?
Well, I don't know if the one in Norfolk does, but it's like a running gag or a meme that Planet Fitnesses are known for giving out free pizza day.
Jesus, I want free pizza.
But why pizza? Like, let's get a little
know.
healthier,
I don't know. It's
Oh my God.
pizza though, so it's like, well,
It's
Little
White-
Caesars closed down.
Dwight Goodman.
We need a new pizza place in town, so here comes Planet Fitness rolling in. The joke I came up with was Pizza Planet, like from Toy Story.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I did not know this.
I didn't know that either. So yeah, okay. So you don't want to get into that at all?
Well, I mean, the kid I'm interviewing, he's kind of like me. He competes and stuff like that, and he just worked there as like a desk guy. They don't really have trainers there. Like they have trainers, but they're not creating programs for their clients. They're just kind of there to show the equipment and
Right.
watch the floor and stuff like
Right.
that. They're not true trainers. I don't know.
Because you're trying to change people's lives.
Exactly.
Over here.
Yeah. And I don't know. He just said there's a lot of management issues there, and things are being kind of run ass backwards from what he told me. I won't say his name, but that's what he told me. So I don't really know how much more worrying we have to be doing about Planet
Usually
Fitness.
that comes down from corporate.
I'm not sure how much
So you
longer
can't really
they'll be
blame-
lasting.
Right. So you can't really blame like the Norfolk area to an extent, but you can blame training. You can
Yeah.
blame who they hired, and
And
we're not talking bad. but-
Whoever's running the show. you know?
and we're not trying to get you to get anybody in trouble.
Yeah.
No,
But-
but
we do want people to be as
Aware of
as
that.
candid as they want to on here.
Yeah.
I've been a Y member off and on basically my whole life, but on the basketball side, it's the Y's got everything. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just you get
Yeah,
the
it's not just a
basketball,
gym. Yeah.
you get the sauna, you
It's
get
a family center.
the pool, you get
Youth sports.
It's so comfortable.
Yeah.
It's and everything's got its issues. Like, I mean, even the Y has people whining about stuff, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's just something you're gonna have happen. But
Yeah.
it's kind of a one stop thing, and it's really nice. It's so much better now with the 24/7 on the backside. Whereas,
Yeah.
like when Anytime came in initially, because I remember that from back in the day. I was young enough that
Yeah.
when I was working weird hours and stuff, it would have been really nice to have it. I can just go
Yeah.
anytime, but it couldn't do that because your Y was I could only go from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on
Right.
and certain times of the year. It's like, well, geez, maybe
Yeah, when I was working at Big Red, I cut my Y membership
Yeah.
because of the hours that I was working. Well, I didn't really cut it because I guess I was still playing noon ball, but I got rid of like the locker room and
Yeah,
all that stuff, and
right.
just kept the basic
fitness
package,
center
and then I
thing,
got
yeah.
the Anytime stuff because I could go work out after my
work,
shift at
yeah.
2 a.m.
Yep.
So
And
it's great you guys have
I've been
that
a
now.
member at any time in the past, and I don't really have anything bad to say about them. They're solid. I mean, there's nothing.
You just did it for the tanning bed. I know you did.
That's right. That's what it is. No, actually, at the time,
Gotta keep that
it's
color.
because they were 24/7, and
Right.
the Y wasn't yet. And I worked doubles. I would open at Target, and then I would go close at Complete Nutrition. And by the time that Y was closing pretty soon, so I'd had to go to Anytime to work out.
I mean, I
So,
think that's a huge thing, a huge benefit to the Y for doing that. And
yeah,
like
yeah, for sure.
all this new stuff, it's a pretty cool thing.
There are
I'm
people.
excited
There's
for it.
obviously going to be people that abuse it and stuff like that, but overall, it's definitely it's a positive thing.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, guys, go see Sam at the Y. He has great staff of other trainers too. If he's not available, they're very informative and very caring. Is there anything that you want to end on before we get out of here, dude?
Keep working hard. Yeah, come see me. Come see me.
Perfect. Well, we really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
We'll do this again because I think you have more to say. We'll get some better topics, and we'll get
for sure.
We'll get some Q&A from the listeners and see what they want to do.
Definitely.
It's great to meet you and great to hear from you.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Sam.
Great, guys.